And I see the counters at 8 seconds, so everyone should be all in. I got my notification that it's showing up on Twitter. So I will start by saying good morning, everybody. I don't even know which camera to look at anymore. Good morning, everybody. My name is Sean Shapiro. This is Ask a Traffic Cop, the show on the internet that answers your traffic and police questions. We do it Monday to Friday from 10 to 11. It is a show entirely for you. It's led by questions from you. If you want to ask me a question, use the Q&A functionality on TikTok or on Instagram Live. There's a button, a question mark in a bubble, and then I'll be able to pull that question up and answer it. Now, if you are coming through on any other, if you're watching on those horizontal letterbox formats like YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, or Twitter, there's a different way to ask questions. Now, if you're on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, you can just simply make a comment. It'll show into our amalgamated chat window. We have all the places, and Jacob's using that right now. He just says a good morning message from YouTube. Now, we see your messages there, but if you're on Twitter, we can't actually see your messages. So if you're watching on Twitter, my apologies in advance. You can watch the replay, you can watch the live, but you can't comment. To do that, my suggestion would be is to go visit trafficcop.ca. It has my link tree there with links to all of the other platforms we're on, so you can just jump onto one of the platforms that functions. All right. Okay, jumping into things, I see a whole bunch of questions coming in that are in the Q&A on TikTok. Nothing yet on Instagram. Greetings and salutations from Michaela Draconis, who just came in by YouTube. But before we get into stuff and things, I want to get something out of the way. That is, where is the Vision Zero enforcement team today? Well, I'm going to tell you, because we tell everybody every day. There's no secrets. We don't keep it under wraps. If you want to avoid getting a ticket, well, easily don't break the law. That's the simplest way. But if you're going to be out and about in the city of Toronto, you need to know that our Vision Zero enforcement team, which is a group of dedicated officers that specifically go out to change driver behavior, they do that by issuing tickets specifically for the Big Four. They focus their efforts on the Big Four. Those are people who choose to speed, drive aggressively, drive distracted, or drive impaired. So if you are somebody doing that, know that we're out to get you, quite literally. They issued a ton of tickets. Maybe I'll pull up some statistics a little later in the show. Are you curious how many tickets we wrote in 2022? I'm sure many people are. We'll talk about that later in the show. Today, the Vision Zero enforcement team is actively focused on 31 Division and 55 Division. Those are the communities, the neighborhoods of Black Creek, Humbermead, Downsview, Humber Summit, the Beaches, Riverdale, Danforth, East York, neighborhoods with real people who live, work, and play in those areas. They deserve to be safe. They deserve it. Just like you deserve to be safe where you live, they deserve to be safe where they live. They want people to drive safely because the goal of Vision Zero, and we are a Vision Zero city, is to make sure that everybody gets home safe. We want to have zero fatalities on the road. If your goal is anything less than zero, it's not a goal. You know, when we talk to people, it's how many people would be acceptable. And I'll ask the question to all of you. How many fatalities are acceptable on our roads? I should play a clip for you because there's clips where people are interviewed and they say, 50, 100, that would be acceptable. And then the question gets flipped. How many of your family is it acceptable to lose or acceptable to die on the roads because of other drivers' poor choices? That number quickly becomes zero. And that's really the only thing, because everyone is somebody's family or friend or loved one or somehow related, even if it's just your cat who likes you. Your life matters, and we want to keep you safe, and that's why we're out. Everyone says, you're a tax collector. You're just out to give tickets for nonsense. No, these things make sense. They are driver behaviors that are known to lead to serious injury and death, and it's not okay. All right, enough about Vision Zero for at least the next 5 minutes. We'll talk about more things later. Let's get into some questions. And what is this? This first question is from Cuba. If I had my car rear bumper off, can I get in trouble? Bumpers are required safety equipment. You need to have a bumper on your vehicle. They do a lot. It's not just for looks. They're for safety. If you get rear-ended without one, you don't have that safety functionality. If you don't have bumpers, you can't get a safety on your vehicle. So front bumper, definitely a big issue. Large commercial trucks don't necessarily have to have rear bumpers, but cars do. So yeah, you can get in trouble. You could be unsafe for the road, in fact. How much over the speed limit does a camera ticket? How much over the speed limit do speed camera ticket? So if you want to know the magic number so you don't get tickets, don't speed. Don't speed at all. There's no excuse for it. Those cameras are in traffic areas that are specifically trying to keep people safe. Like we're talking high-risk areas, like around schools. Those tickets are expensive for one, but they're there for a reason. Don't speed. Don't worry about how much the threshold is, because it doesn't matter. As long as you're not speeding, you won't get a ticket. What is the Lies of the Jedi wants to know, if I'm on break at work, am I able to take a nap in the car? There's nothing illegal about taking a nap in your car. Hopefully you're sober when you're doing it, because carrying control of a motor vehicle, having the keys and the potential to drive a vehicle if you're impaired is a different situation. If you're just talking about napping in your car, in your company parking lot, I don't see any reason why not to. Of course, it could be dangerous if it's the dead of winter and you decide not to get back on you, freeze, God forbid, bad things could happen. So be careful. Chase wants to know if Sergeant Campbell is coming today. We don't know. He's been invited. He's got stuff and things that he's doing and responsible for, but he said he will try. Someone says or asks the question of, what dash cam would you recommend for cars? I totally endorse and recommend dash cameras. I cannot give you on this channel a recommendation of a specific model. On VoiceOver Cop, I may have commented on one of the videos saying that I've bought one for myself, but on this channel, I don't specifically endorse one, and I don't make any money from these. I don't sell them. I don't have anything to do with that, but it just would be improper for me to endorse it on this channel. So what I would suggest is whatever you can afford. If you can afford one that works, get one that works. Amazon's got them, I think, as low as $30, so there's no excuse not to have one, and they can really help you. But as someone mentioned in comments a couple of days ago, they can also hurt you. If you are a bad driver, if you make a mistake, then yes, you could find yourself providing evidence that goes against you. But 9 times out of 10, it's helping you. Someone said it was the opposite. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't help you. I was rear-ended on Friday night. My dash camera was not plugged in because my primary dash camera, the one that's actually installed in my truck, was having problems. So I unplugged it. And the new one that's sitting in a box waiting to be installed that I can't wait to play with, it's a 4K one. It's really going to make good videos. Yeah, I hadn't installed it yet. So, but it would have beautifully captured somebody rear-ending me. And I really, really wish I would have installed it over the weekend or the previous weekend. Anyway, moving on. Why not much done about cars being stolen? I have no information about that. I'm not part of any unit that investigates stolen vehicles. That's not the traffic services unit. We talk about traffic safety, traffic collisions. We investigate violators of the Highway Traffic Act. Vehicle theft is a different story, and I don't know what's being done or what's not being done. Obviously, you've had an experience or have some information that I'm not aware of. Okay. Chase says, make sure you get front and rear dash cams. You know what? I bought one a number of years ago, and my buddy said that he wanted to have the front and rear dash ear cameras, so I gave him that one, and I bought another one with the front one because they were out of the dual camera ones, and I regretted it. I wanted to be able to have pictures of people using their phones as they drove into me. But anyway, enough about dash cams for at least for 5 minutes. Is it legal to record cops when they pull you over? We're recording you, so why wouldn't you be able to record us? There's nothing wrong or illegal about recording. The only thing is you cannot be doing things that are not involved with a stop. So what I mean by that is if you can't pull your license out of your wallet because you're recording, that's a problem. You have to surrender your driver's license, ownership, and insurance upon demand of a police officer. If you're not doing that because you're too busy recording, well, you're going to get tickets for not surrendering those documents. If we're making a demand for breath, if we're making you or demanding that you perform a roadside or sobriety test, well, those are things that are the priority. You have to comply with those demands. And if you don't, you might find yourself getting arrested because you're not doing what you're being asked to do. You're refusing to comply with those demands. But the actual act of recording, no issue. My suggestion is put it in a mount on the dashboard and record away. Okay. Difference between red light and amber light infraction. Well, other than the fact that it's a different dollar amount, if you run a red light or if you fail to stop for an amber light, it's effectively the same thing. You're not listening to the commands of that light. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. So people very often, and we talked yesterday about what are common misconceptions. Well, very many people were shocked and are regularly shocked to find out that a yellow light does not mean go faster. A yellow light or an amber light does not mean accelerate and try and get through the intersection. It means stop unless it's unsafe to do so. So what does that actually mean? How do you decipher this mystery of what is safe and what is not? If you are past the point of no return, which most people who have taken a driving course understand, if you can't stop because stopping would be unsafe. You could run the risk of losing control. If there's someone right behind you, there's a number of factors that would help you establish, the point of no return. If you're at that point of no return, you go through. But if you are capable of stopping, you should be stopping. And guess what? When a police officer is looking at you driving, they're going to make an assessment as to what is safe and not safe and what is reasonable and not reasonable. So if it would have been reasonable for you to stop based on our observations, we will likely stop you and charge you for fail to stop amber light. And it's a no good. It's a no good because it's going to be a ticket, and a ticket that's likely going to cost you an insurance premium hike. Okay. We have Jake here, a regular viewer. Welcome back, my friend. Question states, man arrested for DUI and mobility scooter, same for electric wheelchair. This is a good question. So, in Ontario, in Canada, a mobility scooter is a motor vehicle under the criminal code. A wheelchair, however, is not a motor vehicle. It is actually you as a pedestrian. A wheelchair is considered a pedestrian, whereas or the person operating a wheelchair is considered a pedestrian, whilst the person operating a mobility scooter is considered someone operating a motor vehicle. So one would have you charged criminally, one would not. I like that question. We don't talk about this nearly enough. Are racing seats illegal on the road? So racing seats, truly racing seats with 6-point harnesses or however many points they have, if they are not factory OEM seatbelts, the seatbelts aren't legal. The seats themselves, I have less of an issue with. It's the seatbelts that are the biggest problem, and that's what we can talk about because I'm going to assume that the seats, if replaced, are legit. But the belt system, you cannot take out an OEM seatbelt system to replace it with an aftermarket system. That is not legal. So generally speaking, stuff that's designed for racing is intended for racing and nothing else. So roll cages, if you don't have a Hans device and a helmet and subsequent padding and equipment, that is unsafe for the road. It's an unsafe vehicle. Will take you off the road. You'll be charged, and you lose your license plates. If you're modifying your seatbelts, that's a big problem too. In fact, the only way to wear a 6-point harness in a vehicle that was manufactured with OEM seatbelts would be to wear your OEM seatbelt on top of it. And if you're trying to look cool, I can assure you that is not cool. All right. Do you suggest the auxiliary program? I absolutely, positively love the auxiliary program. I spent 12 years in the auxiliary program. I left as an auxiliary sergeant. I did that from 2000 to 2012 before becoming a police officer. And I was also simultaneously a court officer working as a special constable in the court system, and I left as a supervisor in courts. So I think that both special constable which is a paid job, whereas auxiliary is a volunteer position, fantastic opportunity, best way to contribute to your community and just have fun. It's a fun program. So, if you have questions about that, check out www.tps.ca/careers. Both paid and unpaid positions are available and listed on the website. We are hiring paid police officers right now. So while we have many people who volunteer because they want to be involved in the community, but they're doctors, lawyers, accountants, mechanics, people who love their jobs but want to do more. That's great. That's the auxiliary program. There are people who want to get an idea to see if policing is really for them. Auxiliary is a great program. But if you know you want to be a cop, apply to become a police officer. Talk to our recruiters. Talk to the people in the employment unit. They are the right source of information. We can give you all the help and assistance we can here, but really, at the end of the day, talk to the pros, talk to employment, the talent acquisition unit. Okay. Sash has a question we're going to put up on screen, but I'm going to ignore you for a second. I'm going to come back to you. Just placeholder letting you know. We're going to come over here and have a look at a question on TikTok. Is it illegal to have a boosted 600 horsepower car? No, as long as you're not taking out other things to get there. So if you can have a turbo boosted, you can have it upgraded, hot rodded, but you still need to have an exhaust system. You still have to have one that it complies with the regulations. So your vehicle has to be safe, but increasing horsepower isn't something that is specifically legal or illegal. It just has to meet all the requirements. My Nespresso bubbles are disappearing. I need to take a sip. It's a good coffee. Richard, good morning. Thanks for popping in. Good to see you. We have, can I honk at a cop if they do something wrong? That is a question I will come back to in just a second. But first, we're going to talk about Sash K19, who asked about what's the difference between special constable and police constable. So as a police constable, first of all, we're armed. We carry firearms. We are police officers 24/7, just 365. We're always police officers. We never regain that civilian title until we leave the job. We are no longer civilians. We are police officers. That holds responsibility on and off duty. We have police officers' powers of arrest. We have many different ways of employing and acting in that capacity. As a special constable, which I used to be, you have a limited arrest power. You have more than a citizen, but less than a police officer, depending on how you're sworn. And when you go home, your powers disappear. You become a great witness, but you are not a peace officer or a special constable when you're off duty. You are just a citizen. So that's the biggest difference. Different duties. You get Swiss Army knives, and some have all the tools, and some have some of the tools. Special constables have some of the tools. Great people, great job. Totally think it's worthwhile doing that. Now let's go back to Cuba, who says, "Can I honk at a cop if they're doing something wrong?" Well, how do you know they're doing something wrong? At what point do you know the law as much as they do? And now I'm being facetious. The deal is that there are things that officers do, like they'll pull over and they may block a bicycle lane. Can they do that? Well, if they're pulled over responding to a call, yeah, they can. They can break a number of bylaws because they're actively performing their duties as police officers. If we're going to a call, we need to park wherever we have to park to get the job done, because we're responding to people, to calls for service, and people's safety is at risk. Now, when we're talking about driving fast, driving slow, those things, we're allowed to drive quickly. We're allowed to exceed the speed limit. It drives people bananas that they can't and we can, but we're legally exempt from that law. Using the cell phone, we can use our cell phone. We're legally exempt from the HDA law that says that restricts you from doing it. We're permitted to do it. And there's other exemptions for other people to do it. For instance, you, as a civilian, can use your cell phone while you're driving if you're calling 911 for an emergency. There's an exemption for you. So before you start honking at cops for doing the wrong thing, make sure you're doing the right thing, or that you know what you're talking about. A question from Sayon says, is 120 on the highway illegal? Well, what do you think? And I say that to be, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to say facetious again. I'm asking, hey, how's it going? I'm asking the question because if the speed limit's 100 and is 120, yeah, it's illegal. It's illegal. You're going above the posted speed limit. The speed limit says 100. 100 is the maximum, not the minimum. It's the maximum. That means that, yes, everybody who's going above the speed limit is breaking the law. Hakuna Zero Matata says, can I eat a double Big Mac while I drive? You can, as long as it doesn't prevent you from safely operating your motor vehicle. So what happens? There's no law that says don't be driving with a Big Mac. It says you have to drive in care while maintaining care and control of your vehicle. If not, you're driving carelessly, and you can be charged for careless driving. So if eating that Big Mac causes you to close your eyes and you're all over the road, and you're good because that's just McDonald's way, well, yeah, probably not a good idea. And professional driving instructors will tell you eating and driving bad. Okay. Let's see here. We got anything above the speed limit is officially illegal. Yes, Richard, you're absolutely right. Why do we still need to carry proof of insurance? Well, aside from the fact that the law requires you to, because the law requires you to, there's something called the Compulsory Automotive Insurance Act. It says you need to be able to provide insurance. Now, there has been amendment and an amendment, I can't speak today. An amendment, yes. And that says that you can provide electronic copies or proof if the provider of insurance has an electronic means of providing it. So an app, not a picture of your pink slip, an app, an electronic app. Electronic app? Yeah, it's an app. It's an app on your phone that securely provides a real version. Again, not a photo. Now, otherwise, you provide your pink slip. My company, the company I currently have insurance with, they give you a pink slip, but they don't give you an app. So they're behind the times. Eventually, everything's going to be electronic, and it won't be an issue. But at the moment, it's a $65 fine under the Highway Traffic Act if you fail to surrender proof of insurance. Additionally, you can't, if you don't provide insurance and you're involved in a collision, well, police are going to come and police are going to charge you. Can the police in Ontario chase me if I don't pull over? Yeah. See, if you fail to stop for police, there's new charges. We have more reasons to pull you over and a whole lot more suspicion. Someone does something minor on traffic, we pull them over, we issue them the tickets, and we send them on their way. When you fail to stop for police, are you impaired by drugs or alcohol? Are you on a warrant? Is there a reason to arrest you? You get our spidey senses tingling. And then, there's more and more reason as you progress down that route of stupid. And I say that because if you fail to stop for police, that is not a smart move. Okay. Let's see here. Flashing brights to warn about a speed trap. Well, that is one of my biggest pet peeves. Why is it a pet peeve? You're just being a good Samaritan and telling people to adjust their driving to avoid a ticket. And I commend you for looking out for your fellow person. However, the issue is that you are telling someone to temporarily change their behavior to avoid a ticket. And that means that they slow down temporarily and then pass the police officer and regain the behavior. They can continue to drive in an unsafe way, putting lives at risk. You've saved them a ticket. Yes, but you've put someone's life at risk because they may go on to hurt someone down the street. And guess what? It's your fault. Yeah, it's your fault. If they could have gotten caught, if we could have stopped them and changed their behavior, one ticket is all it takes to potentially change their driving. Worked for me when I was a kid, 16 or 17 years old, got pulled over for speeding. I don't speed. Got pulled over for running a stop sign. Didn't even see the stop sign. Guess what? I don't miss stop signs because that made me hyper alert. It just clued me into being a new driver and what I needed to, I get it. People make mistakes, but you shouldn't make mistakes twice. What do they say? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on... No. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Anyway, the idea is that if you don't learn your lesson, there's no sympathy, right? So people who have there are many people who have tickets, have lots of tickets. It's one thing to have a history that had one or two tickets and then you changed your behavior for the rest of your life. And then, of course, collisions and things happen. But, yeah. Do you ticket people with radar detectors? Absolutely. Not only do we ticket them, we seize the device. And people say, well, why? Why are they illegal? Well, why are they legal anywhere? Again, same premise of notifying your fellow person, fellow driver on the road about the presence of police. A radar device, a detector, a jammer allows you to change your behavior temporarily to avoid detection. It's the wrong message. We want to catch everybody. In fact, I don't believe in giving people breaks on tickets either. Why? Because if you're speeding, you should have the appropriate number of points attributed to your license so you lose your license because bad drivers shouldn't drive. Driving is a privilege, and privileges should be taken away when you don't behave. And I hate to sound like Dad when I say that, but it's the truth. If I don't write you a ticket and you don't learn from that lesson, then all I've done is taken money out of your pocket and sent you off to go do it again. I want to take you off the road. If you shouldn't be on the road, you shouldn't be on the road. Leo wife, good morning. I'm told to drink more coffee. Do I look tired, honey? My wife is Leo wife, and she's watching right now. Okay. Peter Gallagher says, wouldn't flashing high beams be misuse? And that's an interesting question. Technically, yes. If you were flashing your high beams at night, fail to use lower beam could be a charge, and you could be charged. Richard says, once bitten, twice shy. Yeah. But if no one's enforcing, what is it? The mice will play. Can cops speed or chase with their lights off? Yes. We are not required to activate our lights when exceeding the speed limit, and in fact, it's very often safer not to use our lights when we are exceeding the speed limit. Well, for a myriad of reasons. One of them is people do unpredictable things. Other drivers on the road do things like, stop in the middle of the road in front of us. If we're trying to get somewhere quickly, then not using our lights is usually the better way to go. If we are in just gridlock traffic, then lights and sirens doesn't matter. But in regular flow of traffic, when we're just going faster than everybody else, lights and sirens off. If we are going through a signalized intersection that is displaying a red light for us, then utilizing those is actually a requirement of the HTA. But good question. I love the questions. Thank you for the questions. What button? What does the button do? This is the wrong button. I wanted to play a funky sound, but yeah, it's a funky sound. I like that sound. How loud can a car be before you pull them over? That's a subjective question. It depends on the observations of the officer. If it's, we know what's not proper. We know that a loud burble, crack, pop, tin can sounding exhaust pipe, lack of exhaust, loud stereo. If it's obnoxious, we know what obnoxious looks like, and we will pull you over for it, unless we're busy doing something else. That isn't the highest priority. It is a priority. It's something we do, but it's not the highest priority. Can I stop in a live lane to try and rescue a cat or dog on the road? It's a very dangerous situation because you run the risk of being rear-ended. But can you do it? I don't want to give you the thumbs up to do it. I've done it, but it's dangerous. Hazards on. Give yourself lots of space behind where you're actually trying to stop. So, and call in. I would call in and say, there's something on the road and it's a hazard, and I'm gonna. But technically speaking, you're much safer to either not stop for it or stop and stay in your car with your seatbelt on, especially depending on the situation. I wouldn't be doing this on the highway. Okay. Javan Pada says, I have an Indian license. Can I go for a G license? You'll need to contact the ministry, and that would be drivetest.ca. They have all the answers. Certain countries get an exchange program. Other countries get some priority in terms of reduced waiting times. Like you could come in and get a G1 and go through the G1, G2 process faster because you have previous experience if they credit you for it, but they may not. That's going to be up to them. What are the suspension height requirements? I don't know a specific number. It is outlined how high and how low you can go in the light vehicle inspection guide that's available online for free. That's what is used by mechanics to determine whether or not you pass or fail. Now, when it comes to police investigating the roadside inspections, we're going to look for vehicle. We're going to look at your vehicle. We're going to inspect it. We're going to look for tire contact, rubbing between the frame and the tire, or the tire and the body. If there's contact at compressed or uncompressed suspension, that's going to be a problem. Or if your vehicle is so high that you don't have proper mud guards, if you don't have proper safety equipment, if the fender is not covering the tire, those are other things. Do mud flaps make offset wheels legal? Depends on the situation. Mud flaps are required. You can't protrude beyond your fender or flare beyond a certain amount. I believe it's a 1/4 inch. There's a lot of illegal tires and wheels out there. And stretched rubber, absolutely unsafe. Lose your license plates for that. What do we got? I want to check Instagram. Hey, if you're just tuning in and you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. My name is the name that's associated to this thing called Ask a Traffic Cop, which is what you're watching right now. If you don't already follow us, regardless of what platform you're watching on, please do. We would love to have you as part of our gang, our group, our regular viewers. And joining us now on microphone 3 is Sergeant Murray Campbell.
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning. Would you like a chair? You look like you're standing.
I am standing, but no, I'm okay.
Okay. We were just talking about mud flaps making offset wheels illegal or legal. Do mud flaps, if you cover them with a mud flap, are they instantly legal if they're sticking out?
Well, there's a maximum width that a vehicle can be, and sometimes if you've got some rims or spacers that have a high offset, they'll put your vehicle past the maximum allowed, and the entire wheel has to be covered, and that's just for safety. Sometimes pedestrians get caught up in things sticking out the side of vehicles, and it would be a very, very bad day should somebody get caught up in the wheel.
Yeah, pedestrians getting sucked into wheel wells is just a bad day at the office.
Yeah, so it has to be safe that way. Specifically, covering over the top, though, it does need to have a mud flap.
Okay.
On the back.
Good stuff. We're going to move on to Mildred, who has a question and says or asks, can I cross the red light to give way to an emergency vehicle? And the answer is no. You can make a legal right turn if you're capable of doing that, but running a red light is not something you're legally permitted to do, and it would be incredibly unsafe for you to do it.
I understand your concern there. We all want to do the right thing and allow an emergency vehicle to get through an intersection. Most emergency vehicle drivers are looking way, way, way ahead and trying to choose their path around an intersection where it is completely blocked. Maybe by going into oncoming lanes where it's easier for vehicles to pull over to the side. If you do get stuck in a situation where there's a emergency vehicle right behind you and the sirens are still going, you know what? It is appreciated that you maybe make a safe maneuver to do a right turn.
I hate to say it, but safety is primary. Like we understand, and we're not going to be sitting behind you honking the horn. We will have either gone around you, or we'll wait the 30 seconds till the light changes. Because if we push you into a situation where you are now involved in a collision, we've done no better. We can't help someone while hurting other people. It just doesn't work.
Right.
And putting ourselves at risk even. I'll never forget my first echo tiered call where I was running to a call, lights and sirens, and I passed my partner. And I got a message saying, "In a hurry?" I wasn't. There is often less panic and more focus on safety, arriving alive. The next question we have is, what kind of mic are you using, and how much was it? So if I mess around with the wire there, I have two mics. Most of our mics are the Shure MV7. These are a USB and XLR combo mic. They're pretty cool. We like them a lot. My mic is a personally owned mic. It is the SM7B. How much was it? I don't remember. I think they sell for about $500. I bought this one secondhand and probably paid somewhere around $300. And I love this mic. It sounds fantastic. The other mics sound good too. But they are these being XLR do require a DAC, a digital audio interface, and what we're using here is a Zoom PodTrack P8 and lots of other stuff. If you got more questions about how we do the show, that's been my goal on VoiceOver Cop, the other channel, which is my channel, is to talk about. I haven't had a lot of time to do those things, all those extra videos, because I don't actually have time. But I will do it, and if you ask me questions, we'll make some videos for it. Okay, we have a question. What do we got? I'm reading while I'm talking. From G2 to G, is there a decrease in insurance cost? I would say that I would expect there to be. It's based on about just in general your experience, but it's not. That's not a police thing. That's going to be an insurance question, and you should shop around. Different insurance companies may offer different incentives for the experience that you have. So that's a great question, but I don't have a fantastic. Have you had any experience, Sarge?
I have personally, actually. My daughter going from a G2 to G, and we did not see any decrease.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Or not good to know, actually.
Well, no.
Bad.
I was kind of hoping that a full driving license would mean that she'd reach a level of proficiency that would put her at a higher or lower risk. But that's not the case. Apparently, with my insurance company, anyways.
And it might just be a total time. It might be time behind the wheel that they're looking at. But good question. Let's see. Can I get a stunt driving charge knocked down? So do you mean, can you plead to something less offensive? Or do you mean, can you get out of a charge of stunt driving? You can go and hire a company to represent you, a lawyer or a paralegal. You can represent yourself, and you can talk to a prosecutor who may or may not offer you a deal, and you may or may not be able to get a reduced offense. It really is a court question. We lay the charge based on the offense that took place, and the rest takes place in court.
Yeah, absolutely. Not up to us. We don't get to decide.
Yeah, and I hear different stories. I hear people getting, there's quite a large range. A stunt driving charge carries a fine range of $2,000 to $10,000. It carries a suspension range of 1 to 3 years, and up to 6 months of jail, by the way, for the fine. And that's on the first offense. Subsequent offenses, if you're not learning your lesson, that can go up from there. But it probably would start off at the lower edge of the spectrum and move up depending on any unfortunate and what is the word I'm looking for? Other factors that could influencing. So we already had this question, but I'll say, it's a good question, so I'll repeat it. I see cops disobey the law. What can I do? If you're talking about criminality, if you're seeing cops do something criminal, well, that's something that should be reported, and you can certainly contact the Toronto Police to discuss that. You can make a report to at a police station. There's a number of different avenues. If you're talking about minor traffic violations, speeding, or using your cell phone, those are things that they're actually permitted to do by law. They're exempt and permitted to do it. So the things that they're not allowed to do, by all means, you should report. Things that they are allowed to do, you should know what they are and not allowed to do if you're planning on making reports. Mind you, if you make a report about something that's legal, they'll just tell you it's legal. Why does a GPS app warn about speed traps? Well, they don't know necessarily if they're speed traps. They warn you. It's social networking. It's reporting on the presence of police. Usually, if we're talking about ways, if we're talking about mitigating factors. Thank you. If you're talking about actually telling you that speed measurement equipment is on, it's different. Those apps don't qualify as speed measurement warning devices, because if they would, they'd be illegal, or if they were, they'd be illegal. But they're not. We talk about this a lot. It seems to be a lot of interest in that.
You know what? And in a way, they're good.
Indeed.
I don't know if you mentioned it, though. Sometimes it allows people to know what's coming up ahead, that there could be a hazard coming up ahead, to slow their speed down as they're required to do, and to move over, and to do it safely way before whatever is going on ahead.
Here's a question, and their name is Az. Az asks, are you only traffic police? No, we're actually police. We are the police. We are specifically assigned to traffic services. Traffic services is a citywide unit that deals with the enforcement of the Highway Traffic Act, but all police officers can enforce the Highway Traffic Act. We're just specialists. We investigate collisions. That's something that we do in the city and others don't. But that's not to say we didn't come from different places. Sergeant Campbell's had all sorts of experience in other areas of the city, in other areas of the police service. I came from 12 Division, which was a divisional regular police station. So I just happen to focus my energies on traffic and motorcycles and things that I enjoy. You've done undercover stuff. I've never done undercover stuff.
Yeah, kind of neat. Well, plainclothes stuff.
Plainclothes. Well, I've worn plainclothes, but usually that's usually to go home.
Right.
There was a question earlier about stopping, and it's another one along the same thread. So, stopping for animals, dead or injured animals on the road, stopping to help them, remove them, stopping your car in traffic. Advisable?
No, they're already dead.
Well, maybe they're alive. Maybe they're still alive.
So why would you put yourself and your life in danger and the lives of others to help an animal? If you can do it safely, why not?
Yeah.
If you can call a friend that has lots of flashy lights on their car to assist you, call the roads department to remove dead animals that are on the roadway. A dead animal on the roadway is actually a live animal on the roadway is a hazard as well. So do it safely.
I think that's the better answer. Earlier I was talking about to avoid it, but if you were to do it, give yourself lots of space. But really the answer is don't get involved. You have an injured animal could actually lash out and hurt you.
And you're going to be walking out on the roadway and putting yourself in danger. So you know what? Good for you for trying to do it. If you can do it safely, do it safely. If the risk is too much, you have to assess it and not do it. Call a friend.
Call
a helper.
Yes, I like that. I'm pulling up because there's a question here saying, I have to do careers? We are hiring, and this question's about becoming a member of the Toronto Police Service. So the question was, is this a good job? Does it pay well? And somewhere, I believe, there is a list of the salary. Do you think that I can find it right now? Let's see. Oh, yes, I found it. Salary and benefits. So here, where's the button? The button said, does TPS pay well? Okay. Police constables is the only thing I have on screen. There are many different career paths within the Toronto Police. We have civilians, uniformed civilians. We have police officers, but we have people that work in administrative roles. Lots of different jobs. Great place to work. If you're at all interested and looking for a fantastic place to work, you should apply. www.tps.ca/careers. But for those who are interested specifically about policing, this is the salary thing. When you're hired and you go to school as a cadet in training, there's about 6 months while you're in training, and that is a salary of $67,680. When you graduate, it's $75,218. 12 or 14 months later, you get reclassified, assuming everything's going well. You go to $85,900. Actually, I'm going to stop reading the change part. Another year goes by, you go to $96,700, and the top salary is $107,456 because we couldn't just say 0.5, 5. Has to be very specific. But it is. We are paid well. I don't know how we're paid in comparison to other police services. I would say we're all about the same.
Yeah, I would imagine so. But you know what? We have quite a few police officer members, but we couldn't do this job without the support of everybody else. We have everything from IT techs to computer program writers to tow truck drivers to mechanics to boat mechanics to people that work in our mounted unit with horses. Everything. We quite honestly have a spot for everybody here.
Truly. What was the volley? We got a volley. If you want to send us video, voice, or text questions, you can do that by joining our volley group. Links to join volley can be found at trafficcop.ca. But let's check out what we got in the Q&A from Chase. We should probably turn the volume up and start that again.
For a police officer, where is the line between discretion and actually having to issue a ticket? Like, could a police officer let a G1 drive off alone with a warning, or is that illegal? Do they have to issue stunt, or could they give warnings? Where's the line?
Well, that's very interesting. So if I have a G1 driver, I'm not going to let that G1 driver drive home alone in a vehicle when they're not licensed. I become liable for that. I'm not doing that. Do I have to charge them? I don't have to charge them. I could say, don't do it again, call mom to come pick up her car. That's a potential path. Not necessarily the path I would take, because if that person is so irresponsible to take very risky moves and put lives at risk and drive without insurance effectively, then I want them to get the consequence personally. I want them to get their 30-day suspension and learn that this is something you don't do. Warnings, I think, are a great gateway to doing it again. But that's just a personal thing. Truly, you do have discretion and you don't have to. There are charges where you have to, but that's a different story.
Yeah, there are charges that you have to. There are pieces of legislation that mandates mandatory vehicle impoundments or driver's license suspensions. And the whole idea of being out here is to stop the unsafe behavior, to catch the offenders, and to make sure it doesn't happen again or continue happening. So how do you do that? Well, each one is different, and you have to assess the situation differently each and every time. A good deterrent is a monetary fine or a suspension. And you know what? If you're going to continue to do it, I'm not doing anybody a service if I don't charge you the very first time you do it.
Yeah.
Because you could do it again and again and again.
But minor stuff, I don't have a problem with a warning about a license plate frame or cover. That's something reasonable. But when you're speeding, when you're doing something, conducting yourself in a way that's putting lives at risk, I don't think that's a warning situation. I think that's a ticket situation, and then don't do it again. Is the track the only place I can legally stunt drive? Actually, yes. Well, let's go. There's track for cars. There are go-kart tracks. Those are that are exempt under the HTA for stunt driving. There is a statement or a section that says that if it's an Indy event, it's a couple of events that are legal. But if you don't have an Indy car, you're probably not going to be driving at an Indy event. Additionally, any event that is licensed and permitted. So if you had, let's say, a movie shoot and there was a road closure and it was considered, then that would be a different situation. But it would have to all be legal. You can't just drive there and do it.
Right, absolutely. And you know what? Unfortunately, it's come to that because people have caused it to come to that.
It's the individual's choices and behavior that have put the lawmakers into a position where they had to take action.
Yep.
These takeover events that were very popular and still on occasion occur, where people were en masse arriving at private property to hold an event and destroying the property by way of destroying the tarmac, the asphalt, getting into collisions, knocking down light poles, putting lives at risk. Now, stunt driving is not the only thing that you can be charged with. Dangerous driving is an option. That's a criminal offense, depending on what's going on. Is it legal to lower a car really, really low? Well, the answer is not really. There is a maximum or a minimum that it has to be off the ground. There's a minimum height for the headlights, and then there's the safety thing. And very often when you make them really, really low, the tires, you can't actually have the wheel performing properly. If you were to turn your wheel, you would be making contact with the frame or body, and the situation is you're unsafe. Yeah. If your car was designed to be low, it's already going to be low, and then it's just operating stock. But taking a car that was meant to ride high and making it turn low tends to cause problems.
You know, you can legally change your suspension setup as long as it's done properly, safely, and using components that are DOT compliant, good to be used, it can be done. But you have to take into consideration anything you change may have a different effect on other parts of your car, including things like ride height, headlight height, all those things.
Bryce asks, you think PD can better relations with car community? I think we have a great community relationship with the car community. The people that follow the law, the people that don't break the law and put lives at risk, we have no issue with. People who customize cars, heck, we have people in this building who build race cars, racing motorcycles. We have people who are heavy duty into the car scene, and they don't break the law. So the issue we have is with people who choose to break the law, not with people who are in the car community. True enthusiasts aren't lawbreakers. Chase says, Sergeant Campbell mentions DOT compliance. Is that an American standard?
It is. Unfortunately, it is. So it's a Department of Transportation compliance. So for something to be made into a... sorry.
You're moving away from the microphone.
Yeah.
Trying to move the microphone closer to you.
For something to be compliant, it has to meet a number of different standards. SAE, the Society of Automotive Engineers, is one of them. DOT would be an American one. We reference things like helmets. It must be DOT compliant up here in Canada, but yes, it is an American term. There's different compliance levels of everything that goes into a car. Some legal, some not legal. Best person to find out from would be the person that you take your car to get certified.
The mechanic.
The mechanic.
A mechanic. A trusted mechanic. There are people who will take your money regardless of installing good or bad things. Don't ask them whether or not they will put it on your car. Ask them if it's legal and they'll certify a vehicle that way, because then they can become responsible for it. And if they're going to be willing to put their name on it and put it on paper that they put it there and told you it was legal, chances are they're telling you the truth. If they're just taking your money and want nothing to do with you except for your cash, that's a problem. Joshua Lindsay wants to know, do you have 24 hours to supply your driver's license? So this is a situation where you're pulled over, you go to your wallet when you're asked by a police officer or demanded by a police officer to surrender your license for inspection, and you say, gee whiz, boss, I don't have it with me, I left it at home. Do you have 24 hours to surrender it? No. You've committed the offense at that moment. You failed to surrender your driver's license, which is a requirement under the HTA. Can you bring it to the station 24 hours later? Well, 25 years ago maybe, but not now. Very often, and some jurisdictions will allow you to do that. That's a policy that they put into place, but we don't have time for that. A, you've already committed the offense. B, we already know if you have your license or not because we're looking. You're just not complying with the requirement to carry it. Sergeant Campbell's nodding.
That's just a head nod of yes.
Yes. Do you get a lot of TikTok movie shoot traffic violations? Movie shoot traffic violations? TikTok movie shoot? Do you mean people shooting TikToks while driving? I don't know. I'm not on the road. I've never had that forwarded to me as the thing. I see a lot of TikToks where people are actually filming while driving, and I would love to stop and charge all of them because they're using their handheld communication devices. That's against the law. It's unsafe. But I can't say that I have had any direct contact with any of that, so I don't know.
Not only are they using their handheld communication device, most times they are filming them doing something unlawful.
Oh, yes, the 200-kilometer on the 401 videos and so on. Yeah, I can't say enough bad things about those people. They shouldn't be on the road. Why can I not have a cigarette in a commercial car? Under the Smoke-Free Ontario Act. Thank you. I had to go through all my acts very quickly on my virtual Rolodex. Smoke-Free Ontario Act says that you cannot smoke at your workplace. A vehicle that you are working in is a workplace, and thus you are violating that act if you smoke in that vehicle. And if you share that vehicle with anybody else, it's just not nice. But aside from that, you can also be charged for having a cigarette in a vehicle if you have someone under the age of 16 in that vehicle with you. So you're transporting children, it's to protect them. You can also be charged. Things that many people didn't know, but are yet, chargeable offenses.
Mm-hmm. You know what? And I like this legislation. I really do. I remember back in the olden days when I was a child and my dad smoking in the car, and I'd have to say, Dad, open the window, it stinks.
And I used to smoke. I mean, for a period of time in high school, I smoked, and I'm the worst ex-smoker ever. I can't stand. It is a vile, disgusting habit.
You are the
get it.
second worst ex-smoker.
Who's the worst? Worst ex-smoker?
That would be me.
I don't know how I ever did it. Okay. Can I drive with louder music during the day? So the question being is, you can be charged for unnecessary noise. Does it matter if it's daytime or nighttime? Do people have more of a right to peace and quiet at night when the average person is sleeping versus? No, it's 24/7. You can't create unnecessary noise, whether it be by your exhaust, your tires, your stereo, or your horn. All of those things factor into unnecessary noise, and there is no prevailing time that allows it. There's no window. Now, if you're talking about under the bylaw in the city, can you have noise after a certain time? That's different. That's like mowing your lawn in the middle of the night. Those have times. The Highway Traffic Act does not.
Common sense.
Yeah.
You know what? I like loud music. Sometimes I'll rock out to some tunes, but I'll do it in a manner that doesn't affect anybody.
But I'm old. Number 10 on the dial is like 10%. That's loud enough for me. I don't need to.
My hard hearing was ruined when I was a child, or teenager, anyways. Number 10 is like normal.
Well, actually, I have a friend, a good friend of mine. We went for breakfast a couple of weeks ago, and I'm listening to a song. I think it was Men at Work, and I'm bopping along. So, what are you listening to? Like, it's his car. He says, I hear nothing. I hear nothing. I'm like, really? Like nothing? I'm like, this is as loud as I'd listen to it. He hears nothing. So it's either a blessing or a curse. Do you know if a car is uninsured by their plate? So we have an ability to check to see a fairly recent system, but before I lay charges, I will call the insurance company and verify. That's a me thing. It's your responsibility to provide proof. If you cannot provide proof, you have to provide proof in court.
We have the ability to investigate it that leads us in a direction of investigation.
Yeah.
We don't hold that as 100% proof, because insurance is done through you and your private insurance company. It's a contract between the two of you. The Highway Traffic Act or the Compulsory Automobile Insurance Act says you must have it. How you get it and what your coverage is and who's allowed to drive and who's not allowed to drive and the times that it's active and whatever is between you and your insurance company. If you don't provide proof to us, we're going to look into it a little bit further. Mm-hmm. But we do have a way under the MTO system that we can go look and go, oh, that insurance has not been verified. Maybe we need to investigate that a little bit further.
And we have 3 years to lay that charge. 3 years. So I can make that a long-term project and come serve you later. I don't have to make that determination at the side of the road. If I am suspicious, but you've given me information on the face that I want to look in further and I can't get the answer because they're closed or whatever to my satisfaction, I may not lay the charge then and there, but I will come after you later.
Yep, there's many times I've laid the failed to surrender the permit, like the insurance certificate, looked into it, and there was no insurance. And you thought you got away with it and got a $65 ticket. I knock on the door and say, hi, remember me?
I'm that guy. And here's your ticket. Digital pink card. Do you take my phone to the cruiser? I've yet to find someone surrender an insurance card electronically, at least when I was on the road. I don't know if it's become commonplace or not. We have issued telephones. I would probably take a picture of it and then take that back to my car. I don't personally want to take your phone to my car.
Right. So a picture of your pink insurance slip does not satisfy. It has to be a PDF. It has to be sent. You have to be able to prove it was sent from your insurance company, and it's the original document. It hasn't been altered. You are required to. The onus is on you to prove that. If you don't want us looking in your phone, if you don't want us touching your phone, that's fine. You have an alternate option of providing a paper.
It's a great option. I understood that it was actually an app that had to be an electronic format, like an app, because my company doesn't provide me with an app, but others have secure apps that are verifiable. So I don't even know if it's a PDF or not.
No, my company provides me with a email with a PDF of the pink slips in there.
Interesting. I don't know. I have to look it up now. It may be both that are acceptable. What I understood, an electronic app version that was required. Let's see here. Thoughts on tinted windows in the front? My tinted window button. I don't tint windows anymore. I had tinted windows when I was 17. I don't do it anymore. And I appreciate that people have sensitive eyes that want to pick their nose in private. There's all sorts of reasons for tinted windows, reducing solar load, tons of reasons. But windows on the front in the driver compartment, directly left and right of the driver, and on the windshield, have limitations. Well, on the front windshield, you can have nothing. If your vehicle was manufactured in 2016 or older, then you can actually have a 3-inch or 75 millimeters, which is 3 inches, tint strip across the top, but that's it. Nothing else in the windshield because it's unsafe. You actually lose your license plate for that. Now, for the windows left and right of the driver, we have to be able to see and identify the driver. So there's two different scales. One being that if you have more than 30% light blockage, 70% light has to come through. If it's more than that or less coming through, more being tinted, you will actually lose your plates. We can seize them because it's an unsafe vehicle. But even if it's less than that, let's say it's 20%, it's dark outside, and we can't see inside your vehicle, you've obscured the interior of that vehicle, you can actually get a charge under the HDA. And oddly enough, it's called obscure interior motor vehicle with color-coded or color or reflective tint.
Yeah, well, there's no reflective tint allowed anytime, anywhere.
On the front two drivers.
Yeah.
Back windows, you can do what you want.
Yeah.
Reflective tint, again, because it obscures the interior. If it's reflective, you can't see in. And a lot of people want to know about chrome. What's it called? Chameleon tint. It's reflective tint. You can't have it. Even though it looks great looking out, but not so, you can't obstruct an officer. People say, well, why does a police officer need to see inside a car? Well, let me count the ways. And you brought up one of them I hadn't even thought about recently, because I so rarely see someone driving without a seatbelt, but it's to be able to check if someone's wearing their seatbelt.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's driving, who the people are, if they're wearing seatbelt, are they safe, are they using their phone, are they, all those things that we're allowed to look into the car. Your expectation of privacy inside of a vehicle is very much diminished compared to other places around. So
I think in a public place, it's really, anything that can be seen from outside there is no reasonable expectation of privacy at that point. And to say that I need my privacy, don't drive a car. Stay at home.
Quite simply, in basic terms, yeah.
What do we have this? What time does your town have a curfew? We don't have a curfew. How can I fight that, please and thanks? I don't know what we're talking about. Let's see here. What happens if I park a car and chill? I guess you park a car and chill. I don't know what happens after that.
Park legally.
Park legally, yeah. Do speed cameras have to have a visible sign posted? Actually, yeah. They do have a visible sign posted. They have to. That sign has to be up because that's the way they've written it. I don't know if that's a HTA requirement, if it's a city requirement, but signs have to be posted.
No, I believe it's Mr. Transportation when they enacted the ability to erect the speed enforcement cameras. That was part of it. To be out in the open, to show people where they are, to put them up in community safety zones only, and there's no excuse for not knowing they're there.
Yeah. As with laws, one of the reasons I say it's to me, it's kind of surprising that you need a sign, because ignorance of the law is not a defense. So not knowing the camera was there isn't. I think there should be super secret cameras everywhere. But here's a statement. Skittle something or other says, inform viewers your municipality differs from others. Well, actually, our province, these are provincial laws, not municipal laws in the most cases, although the signs could, well, no, I think this is all provincial. It's province-wide. Things like parking could be different based on municipalities, but generally speaking, what we talk about here carries true across the province of Ontario. And when we talk about criminality, anything criminal, that's Canada-wide. So definitely it could be different in your jurisdiction. If you do have questions about specific jurisdictions, feel free to include where you are in your question.
Yeah, we have 3 levels of government that all have laws, bylaws, or legislation that affects the movement of motor vehicles. So I have to be aware of all those.
Here's a question. How many impaired driving charges over the holidays? A good question. We actually have a holiday ride report that's being worked on, so more will be coming out in relation to that. Hey, something that just you just triggered a memory, a flash. Yesterday, I posted a post on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook that said that if you're involved in a motor vehicle collision in the city of Toronto, it's a minor one that doesn't require you to wait for police to investigate on scene, then you can go to a collision reporting center. Collision Reporting Center hours have changed as of yesterday. There's 2 hours a day extra for reporting. They're now open from 8 a.m. till 10 p.m., 7 days a week. So if you're involved in a collision and you need to report, you have some more flexibility.
You know what, though? If you don't crash, we don't got to go there.
That is a much better option. Bicycles with small engines mounted legal. No. Those are motorcycles. Once you put an engine onto a bicycle, that becomes a motorcycle. In fact, an e-bike would be a motorcycle if there wasn't a piece of legislation to magically convert those into e-bikes. E being the operative word, gasoline is not covered under that legislation. So, if you put an engine onto a bicycle, it is not legal.
You know what? I wouldn't be able to write as many tickets as you could write for somebody that put a motor on a
You'd run out of paper.
bicycle. You would?
Because let's talk about it. You turn that motor vehicle into an unsafe motor vehicle because you have an engine, but you don't have appropriate brakes. You have, what else do you have? You have,
Improper tires,
yeah,
a helmet,
yeah.
no
License.
safety compliance, no license plate, no headlight, no tail light, no turn signals, no horn, no. Just keep going.
The list goes on, and I would
Insurance
write
is a big
each and
one.
every one of them. And that insurance carries a $5,000 to $25,000 fine, up to 6 months in jail, and it's a bad day at the office for you if you actually hurt somebody.
Oh, yeah.
It's a bad day anyway, but if you hurt somebody, it's like that much more. Let's see, we got a question here, and then we got to go because it is 11 o'clock. Jake here says, crazy video of a woman who parked on a sidewalk in Chinatown to use the bank. Wow. Oddly enough, we were talking about that very video this morning. And yes, somebody decided to pull up on the sidewalk because they just needed to use the bank machine. And is that so wrong?
Sorry, they pulled up on the sidewalk?
Oh, yeah, they're right on the curb onto the sidewalk, blocking the bicycle lane, the sidewalk, like in the intersection, essentially, to use the bank machine.
What in the world would anybody think that would be an appropriate thing to do?
I don't know. There's a lot of folks who think they, their needs meet a higher priority. In any case, I can tell you that we've had some discussions, and I understand that parking enforcement is going to be looking for more people to write tickets to when it comes to these things, like to target, to look at, to focus on. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. So that person, if you get a ticket for doing that, just know that it was that person who triggered the whole enchilada.
Yep, there you go.
Heightened enforcement.
Go back and find where that person is and say, thank you very much.
Yes, if you see them, high five. The level of, I don't even know how to say this nicely, so I won't say anything. But that person made a very poor decision. And unfortunately weren't caught for it yet.
Yet.
All right, 11 o'clock, it's time to go. Tomorrow we will be coming on at 9:30. Why are we coming in at 9:30? Because tomorrow morning we are joining Jerry Yeager on News Talk 1010. We'll be doing that show with him, where we do 30 minutes of this show with his show and his shows on our show. We blend the shows. And then at 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock, we continue with a regular show where it's just you. So we give you that extra 30 minutes, not to cut into your hour. We give the 30 minutes to everyone, so it's an hour and a half. We will be back tomorrow, 9:30 till 11, an hour and a half. Super mega show. If you got questions, we got answers. Follow us, because this is what we do all the time. And if you want to continue this conversation offline, not during the live stream, join our group. It's the Volley group. You can get to it by going to trafficcop.ca. There's a button on my link tree, which is what trafficcop.ca is, and it says, ask me a question on Volley. Join the group, ask a question, video, voice, or text are accepted, and it's a lot of fun. So with that, I bid you adieu. Have a great day. Stay safe, everybody. Thanks to Ryan Pinn, who just said the same thing, and Richard, and my wife, who says have a good day. And we're out of here. I'm going to leave you with a song, because I leave you with this song every episode. And it is the traffic song, written and performed by a police officer right here in my station. It's on a ukulele, and it's awesome. I love it.
Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed. And watch your driving, don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.